I'm gonna discuss about the early life of Henry C. His original birth name is Si Chis Xiang. The meaning is to attain ultimate success. He was born on December 25, 1924, in the remote village in Fujian Province, South China. His father left the family when he was still a toddler for a country that was then a U.S. territorial protectorate, and he came to the Philippines at the young age of 12 to help his father in a small sari-sari store located in Carlos Palanca Street in Quiapo, Manila. He devised ways to increase his income by developing small portions of products. World War II came and the sari-sari store was burned. He survived the loss of his father's two sari-sari stores at the close of World War. The sari-sari store was looted and burned. He did a lot of buying and selling of odd things during the war to enable the family to survive. He got hurt while selling and was brought to the hospital by a friend. He expressed his gratitude after the war by making that friend his partner in a shoe store. After the war ended in 1945, he ventured into selling American shoes. He later saw the opportunities of opening a shoe store. Not long after, he was managing the shoe store in partnership with friends. In 1950, with the pleasure of growing family, he found a time pursuing studies at FEU. He earned his Associate of Arts degree in Commercial Studies. He went on a long business trip to the East Coast and came home with a lot of merchandising ideas. He was selling a lot of shoes, accessories, and leather goods, hoping to change the way shoe manufacturers look at the industry. He decided to open Shoe Mart, or SM, the first air-conditioned shoe store that merchandised shoes in a very inviting and classy format. With the success of the store, he went on open more shoe stores, but he could not get enough suppliers. And then he opened the first department store in 1972, 2 months after martial law was declared. His wife is Felicidad Tan C. He has 6 children, namely Teresita C. Causon, Henry T. C. Jr., Hans T. C., Herbert T. C., Elizabeth T. C., and Harley T. C. So the eldest is Teresita C. Causon, and one of the most powerful women in business. At the age of 39, she was appointed president of the Shoe Mart Incorporation. She is vice chairman of Investments Corporation, the SM Group's holding company, director of SM Prime Holdings, vice chairman of Equitable PCI Bank. Henry T. C. Jr. graduated with a management degree from De La Salle University. He is a vice chairman and chief executive officer of SM Development Corporation. He is a chairman of Pico de Loro Beach and Country Club, and he is a director of SM Prime Holdings Incorporation and Banco de Oro Unibank Incorporation. Hans T. C. graduated with a degree of mechanical engineering from De La Salle University. He has been the first executive vice president of SM Investments Corporation since 2005. He is the president of SM Prime Holdings Incorporation and executive vice president of Shoe Mart Incorporation. He heads the shopping mall operations and the engineering and construction divisions within the SM Group. Herbert T. C. graduated with a degree of business management from De La Salle University. He holds top positions in a number of corporations across various industries. He is currently the director of Shoe Mart Incorporation, director of China Bank Corporation and Best Rubber Corporation, director of Multi-Realty Development Corporation, Tagaytay Resort Development Corporation, and Ortigas Center Association. Elizabeth T. C. graduated with a degree of business management from Maryknoll College or Miriam College, senior vice president of marketing at SM Prime Holdings Incorporation. She is a director of Banco de Oro Private Bank. She is actively involved in the SM Group's tourism and leisure business endeavors. She is also actively involved in investor relations for SM. And lastly, Harley T. C. graduated with a degree of commerce major in finance from De La Salle University. Senior Vice President and Treasurer of SM Prime Holdings Incorporation. His directorships include the following: Ace Hardware Philippines, Shoe Mart Incorporation, and HS Food Incorporation. He is a director of Equitable PCI Bank Incorporation and Vantage Equities Incorporation.
From rags to riches, the stars we are so inspired by, where the poor and the hard-pressed become the rich and the powerful, either by hard work and perseverance, meeting the right people at the right time, or just by a twist of fate and a struck down block. We can't help but be in awe when we find out that those in power came from the humblest of beginnings. for success and achievement are not handed down in silver platter but earned through the trials of life and through the will and determination to see things through the end. So here, we will look into the story of a man who arrived in the Philippines and struggled every step of the way, eventually becoming the richest man in the country and who still holds that title today. So that man is Henry C. Sr., a Chinese-Filipino business magnate, successful investor, and philanthropist. He started out his career with a simple but friendly sari-sari store, or a neighborhood variety store, before going on to make a shoe retail store. He is now the chairman of SM Prime Holdings Corporation, the holding corporation for all his interests within his dominant empire. So, he was born in Xiamen, China, a province in China. So, his family moved to the Philippines in hopes of a better life and looking for better opportunities as well. So, his father, who owned the simple sari-sari store on the Chaga Street in Quiapo, which was ravaged when the Second World War came along. With nothing left, his father moved back to China while C stayed in Manila, determined to become successful even with only 10 centavos to his name. When Henry C. was leaving his home in Kasiamen in 1936 at age 11, his mother, Tan Osia, told him never to look back. She probably did not want her son to be homesick. Maybe this advice helped Henry become who is he now, a dollar billionaire, the richest in the country. This advice maybe helped him to carve out not just a name for himself and his family, but to the country that would host him and his father, who was already in Manila, eking out a living, selling all kinds of inexpensive stuff. He had nothing on but a shirt on his back and 10 centavos in his pocket. So he was alone, but befriended someone he met on the boat. This friend begrudgingly shared with him the 20 pesos he found on both, but not without complaining that they were spending his lucky money. So the luck man was talking about seemed to fit Henry's future. After all, his parents gave him the name Si Chi Sieng, which in Chinese means to attain ultimate success. His first meal on the boat was a 5 centavo bread, stuffed with meat, his first encounter of the sandwich. So the young C had to spend time on Engineer Island, a processing center of the Immigration Bureau. It was not the centavos he parlayed into his first million before he was 30. It was a sheer determination enriched by discipline and a kind heart that drove him to harder work with his father, C. Siu Tek. So, C started out with a small sari-sari store business that helped him in their day-to-day life. C and his father lived in a small space until the fruits of their labor made them successful in the following years. His father left the family when he was still a toddler, for a country that was then a U.S. territorial protectorate. He came to the Philippines at a young age of 12 to help his father in a small sari-sari store for more than 12 hours a day, every day. So, 12 hours a day, every day. So, it was located in Carlos Palanca Street in Quiapo, Manila. And that's the time where he devised ways to increase his income by developing small portions of products. Needless to say, his strategy worked, and he was able to make multiple sales. Mr. Henry C. was so engrossed in work that he never had time to be a kid or to play with the other kids. Henry later realized that limitation for a sari-sari store. However, when the Philippine economy collapsed in the World War II, their store burned down. That forced his father to go back to China. So he survived the loss of his of the two sari-sari stores at the close of World War II. So the sari-sari store was looted and burned. So he did a lot of buying and selling of odd things during the war to enable the family to survive. So one day, when he was out selling, he was shot by a shrapnel and nearly bled to death if it wasn't for his friend who rushed him to the hospital. He repaid his friend by making him his business partner throughout the rest of their careers. So this friend was not that readily exposed to others because of the personal stuff. So He worked hard all night and day to survive, this while learning English and Tagalog, attending school, and hurdling other obstacles. So, after earning a degree in commercial studies from Far Eastern University, the young entrepreneur entered the shoe business and sold surplus GI boots, which led to him opening his first shoe mart. He did not have an overnight success, and he had to enroll himself in school, change legal names, sell rejected and overrun shoes, plus many other setbacks that he had to face early in life. He did not give up and push through, maybe because he knew that something big, which is what he has now, is about to come. So Henry did not have much of college education. The only title after his name was Associate in Commercial Science he earned from Far Eastern University. So Mr. Henry amassed enough wealth to send all his children to De La Salle University. So in gratitude to the school, he donated the largest library among schools in the Philippines. The edifice, which will open by about the end of the year, cost Mr. Henry 1.6 billion pesos. So that seems to be his way of looking back to people of institutions who help him and his children succeed. As he has shown to himself and to the whole world of business, the best education for the less educated is the battlefield of business. Henry was fully armed for those battles. He has always had the knack for retail. Chinese farm Xiamen are said to be the best in the retailing business because circumstances force them to be so. So in Xiamen is a poor province of China where hardly anything grows. So it is separated from the Taiwan by the Taiwan Strait. So people in Xiamen were forced into the buy and sell business. So Henry was always preoccupied with doing business. He hardly ever rested. So during the Japanese occupation, he discovered that he had enough to buy a Caritella, a horse-drawn car, but he had the sense to have someone operate it for him. Time was too precious to be wasted transporting people in the Caritella. So there were bigger things to do but small things to contribute to expanding savings and eventually wealth. From the little money earned from the Caritella, Henry was able to buy a bicycle from a Japanese. So while Henry was biking, he saw a 16-year-old pretty girl named Felicidad Tan. She was to be his wife later, but not if his parents were allowed to their way. So when he went back to China after 11 years, his parents tried matchmaking, so arranged marriage. He told his mother that he would go back to Manila if his parents pick his wife. If his parents pick his own wife. So he was so in love with Miss Felicidad Tan, or Mrs. Felicidad Tan sooner. So Henry said, there are countless ways to make more money. Only your willingness to do work is your imagination, and time can limit the ways. So Henry is now the top billionaire worth close to $9 billion, according to the most recent survey made by Forbes magazine. So the popular impression about Henry is that started building a business empire with shoes. Shoes he has always loved, but before shoes, he was in a few other things including a drugstore and seasoned ice drop. He had a partner named Lau Kang when he set up the Plaza shoe store. His daughter Elizabeth told Malaya Business Insight that until 5 years ago, Henry would drop by the store and personally inspect the shoes himself. Shoes attracted him because he thought that if he could sell a pair of shoes to Filipinos, he could make money. There's no business like shoe business, Henry told himself. So before those little ventures, he was supplementing his income by selling cigarettes he bought from the American soldiers in Plaza Miranda. Sales were brisk, enabling him to earn 1 peso a day, a fortune in those days. So the wealth of the present, Henry C. needs no retailing. He has built 46 malls in many parts of the Philippines. He has another 4 in China. In China's Filipino family is to bequeath management of business to the firstborn son. So Henry C. did not do that. He thought that he would see how Tessie's C. cousin, the firstborn, could run the thriving business. So Tessie, widowed for some years now, definitely had the talent. However, even Chinese families believe that the biggest secret of Tessie's success was how her father disciplined the rest of her 5 siblings to respect the decisions of their eldest sister. Most of the decisions were Henry's. His children, led by Tessie, are merely implementing them. Henry had the sense of raising competition among his children, while Tessie was at the top and chairman of the Banco de Oro Universal Bank. Each of the rest of his 5 children was given a business to run. None of Henry's children had a business that competes with the others. None of the 6 children is outdoing one another. Each is on his own. The competition was to succeed by helping one another. The malls do not compete with the bank, but the bank does not compete with the property. The supermarkets in the malls were competing with supermarkets of the other businessmen. The greatest contribution of Henry C. is the modernization of the retailing business. He might have been driven out of business a few Sari stores, but most of them found stalls in Henry's malls. So the shoppers these days do not hop from one department store to another to buy what they need. Yes, they can get tired of hopping from one shop to another, but the shops are under the same roof of Henry's 46 malls. So Henry C. and his children are aware that the malls create a demand for products, including food, never thought of before precisely because there was no place of large concentration of people, particularly shoppers. So the malls of Henry C. induce demand. His big malls have Sunday live entertainments. He thought that everybody, including the less fortunate, is entitled to some fun. So he gives them fun for free. So it took Henry C. more than a dozen years before he was granted a 1 million credit line by China Bank. Little did he know that about 50 years later his family would be one of the bank's largest stockholders. So the stake in China Bank came much later than Banco de Oro, a universal bank that he parlayed from a small thrift institution to become one of the country's largest. So Banco de Oro probably has the biggest number of branches among all banks. So these are the big decisions. But long before, he saw Makati as a potential business district in the country. He is one of the few businessmen who built in Makati. He built the Shoe Mart store near the Intercontinental Hotel. So his business then was not yet the empire that it is today. His mind and body were restless. He thought of Shoe Mart cards that may be said was the harbinger of the present day credit card system. So after a series of failure in his business, Henry C. stood back and persevered to attain his goal. He established a small shoe store in Quiapo, Manila, that marked the establishment of SM Prime Holdings. Now, with 3 of the most valuable companies in the Philippines, SM Investment Corp. And SM Holdings Incorporation, valued at over 1 trillion each, and BDO Unibank valued at around 635 million. He has become the richest man in the country. So, with his inspiring story, one can learn about the ideals of success. Henry C. tells us not to give up on our dreams, no matter how far-fetched it seems. So, who knows, maybe yours is the next success story to tell.
I am Patricia Andrea Cada, and I will be discussing the challenges Henry C. encountered during the start and later in the business. This will include a brief introduction of himself, which links to how he started the business and how he ended up to where he is now. Included in this discussion is the struggles he faced when the business has been established. Henry C. was not born with a silver spoon. Based on his biography, he came from a family of immigrants from Xiamen, China. His family were not rich and popular, and thus he faced a lot of challenges growing up and being able to survive from poverty. And when his father left him for China, he had to work in order to sustain himself, which forced him to start his own business. Starting a business is not as easy as counting 1, 2, 3 and reciting ABC. It takes a lot of courage and effort in order to be successful in business, and even Henry C. was not exempted. He had his own struggles and challenges. Before being in the business, Henry C.'s life was entirely different compared to his life today. Henry C. opened the first shoe mart in 1958 after he had saved enough money from selling surplus GI boots. Little did he know that 60 years later in his life, a small store would become the behemoth that it is today. From a small shoe store to one of the largest holding companies in the Philippines, take a look back at the story of the founder of the SM Supermalls and the growth of his enterprises. Henry C.'s life was a true rags to riches story. Born in Xiamen, C and his family moved to the Philippines in hopes for a better life. C's father owned a simple sari-sari store on Echagi Street in Quiapo, which was ravaged when the Second World War came along. With nothing left, C's father moved back to China when C stayed in Manila, determined to be successful, even with only 10 centavos to his name. He worked all night and day to survive. This while learning English and Tagalog, attending school, and hurdling other obstacles. After earning a degree in commercial studies in Far Eastern University, the young entrepreneur entered the shoe business and surplus GI boots, which led him to opening his first shoe mart. But after some time, C found that the shoes were hard to come by locally, and then he looked for other countries for broken sizes, a move that would cement Shoe Mart's status as an efficient shoe store. When he married Felicidad Tan, a lace vendor, he thought of venturing into other products such as children's wear. Around the same time, Shoe Mart officially changed its name to SM Department Store. After opening SM North EDSA in 1985, SM almost consecutively opened malls in the following years. SM City Santa Mesa in 1990, SM Megamall in 1991, SM City Cebu in 1993, and SM City Prime Holdings Incorporated in 1994. This increased the SM Prime's funding capabilities and in turn fueled further development of SM malls and shopping centers. Next, the challenges he faced from people in the politics. During the business startup, Henry C. purchased a piece of land in a not so developed area in Quezon City, which is now put up a mall which is now SM City North EDSA. The people did not believe in Henry C. According to Hans C., a son of Henry C., the people were skeptic about SM when they were building their first mall in 1983. This was the SM City North EDSA. At that time, there was a political crisis where interest rates were as high as 45%. The people in the Philippines were poor, and hence, the people found that the idea of the shopping mall was ridiculous. They said that the SM City would not succeed, but the mall was an instant success. And even a powerful and rich man like Henry C. could not resist the challenges in the business. The rise of online retail shops alarmed the SM Business Center to a certain extent. Even a powerful and rich man like Henry C. could not resist the challenges in the business. The rise of online retail shops alarmed the business to a certain extent. It is no doubt that online shops provide a greater ease to the shoppers. This enables shoppers to save their energy and time going to the malls and avoid going to crowded shopping malls. With just one click, they can buy the item of their choice and have it delivered to their doorstep. Imagine how easy it is given that people are becoming more busy with work nowadays. Having said that, the SM Group itself is exploring e-commerce to provide its shoppers with more choices and convenience. Even with the onslaught of online formats, SM seeks to enhance its lifestyle malls to provide shoppers a more exciting and educational experience. The competition amongst other retail businesses is one of the challenges Henry C's business faces as well. More malls now are being built that provides holistic experiences. This concerns SM as they have to enhance their marketing strategy in order to keep the loyalty of their shoppers. SM President Hansi said that the podium in Ortigas, a venture with SM Capellan Incorporated, would elevate the lifestyle scene with premium retail and dining. He added that SM Mall of Asia would break boundaries with expansion plan that includes a rooftop botanical garden, a football field, and a vast lifestyle area lit by a stunning sunset, a galleon museum, and a theater for the performing arts. Being in this line of business requires the business owners to stay up to date so that they will not be obsolete. Hence, continue being at the top.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Enriquez and I'm gonna discuss about the turning point in Henry C's life. As we all know, Henry C's family moved to Philippines in hopes of a better life. C's father owned a simple sari-sari store in Quiapo, which has been burned down during the World War II. With nothing left, C's father moved back to China, while C stayed in Manila, determined to become successful, even with only 10 centavos to his name. He did a lot of buying and selling of odd things during the war to enable the family to survive. He got hurt while selling and was brought to the hospital by a friend. After the war ended in 1945, he ventured into selling American shoes. He later saw the opportunities of opening a shoe store, and not long after, he was managing 3 shoe stores in partnership with friends. So this is what is considered to be his turning point to become a successful person.
Hi, good day. This part of the report is going to be about the key traits and qualities that Henry C. possesses and that contributed to his success. So first of all, he is a very focused man. Um, he has a purpose in life and in business, and having a purpose in business is a very important factor for your ultimate goal. It, it, it is what you want your business to be, and purpose paves the road for entrepreneurial success. So it serves as a guide. It paves the road for the business, the path that you are going to take. So it is a guide to follow your vision regardless of all the obstacles ahead. Also, he is an ambitious person. He goes for the large scale, and he is always willing to be bold. Um, so his first business was a small a small business was a shoe mart Carriedo that was built in 1958. And being a focused person, he was also customer focused. So his main goal is to transform the lives of people. And as we can see it, it pretty much makes sense because now his malls are really convenient. It's all around the country. It's all around the metro, and everything. His malls like almost has everything you need, and I can say that he really did transform the lives of people. Also, he is a confident person. He always believed in himself and his capabilities. He knows what he wants and what he doesn't want and cannot and can do. So he knew what he wanted to achieve, and that was what he wanted to achieve. He wanted to transform and better the life of people. And even under the most complicated situations, he did not lose hope. Despite these obstacles, his composure remained intact. Also, he is a creative thinker. Henry C is an innovative thinker who was ahead of his time. So during 1950 something, when he established his first shoe mart company, he was ahead. He was already thinking ahead. He did not stop there. He knew what he wanted to do, and and he also exhibited the out of the box thinking. Um, this is something that he said, and I quote: "Decisions can be made in an hour, even in 1 minute. if I have an opportunity worth looking into, I discuss it with my family board, and that time, right then and then, a decision is made to go or not to go. Also, he is a creative thinker and he is a fast thinker. He believes when he thinks of a plan, he knows right away if he can't or cannot do it. So, right then and then, he makes a decision because he doesn't want to prolong the process of of this like establishing a business. Cause he said that today people want something and tomorrow people want a different thing. So why not decide right here, right now? That's basically it. And he was also hardworking. He started working when they were teenagers, and after graduating from college, all his siblings were expected to continue working full time in the family business. So they were not expected actually to do good in school. I mean, to be the best in school, because their father said that once you're out of school and into the real world, they were taught to aspire to be the best in any endeavor that they are going to be involved in. So ever since they were young, they were working really hard. All the C siblings. And the last thing is he sets a good governance. Good governance is a good business. Compliance to government requirements is a must, and that's a way to keep your business healthy, and also paying the right taxes. So that's what he does. He sets good governance, and also he pays high salary to competent people. You have to govern your company. You have to manage it well, so it continues. Because if you mismanage it, it's just one wrongdoing and it's gone. It's really, it's really important also to make your employees happy. So if they're competent enough, you pay them the right, what they deserve. And that's exactly what he meant by setting a good governance. So, again, he was a focused man. He is confident. As an entrepreneur, he was confident. He is a creative thinker, and he is hardworking. And lastly, he sets good governance. So these are the key traits that contributed to Henry C's success as an entrepreneur.
How often do you come here?
6 times a week.
Wow, really? 6 times a week?
You know the reason why I like to see a lot of people. Number one, me, listening. Number two, is great. Okay, then. You can stay here, you can make a cup of coffee, and maybe enjoy the garden atmosphere.
Yes.
It began with a dream, a young businessman with a deep sense of social consciousness and a desire to succeed, thought of providing every Filipino with a pair of shoes. It was a simple goal, envisioned right after the Second World War ravaged Manila.
I bet you have no idea where we are right now, but this sea made this place the starting point of the maritime Silk Road, a place that Marco Polo once called the busiest port in the world. And the iconic twin pagodas behind me have paid witness to more than 1,300 years of history.
Quanzhou is on China's southeast coast in Fujian province.